I'm going to get to the clip right away here, but in the wake of the recent shooting at Bondi Beach in Australia, a number of politicians and political pundits have come out and voiced their opinion about what the real problem is, what the real issue is behind not only the Bondi Beach attack in Australia, but all the other issues that they're having. Can anybody guess? You know, it's not the radical mass migration policies that are changing the very fabric of Australian demographics, changing the communities, the essence of what it means to be an Australian. No, it's none of that. It's the far right. It's the populist white nationalists. They're the problem. Anyways, Anthony Albanese recently did another press conference where he was asked by a reporter, is radical Islam the greatest domestic security threat Australia faces? And Anthony Albanese, right at the beginning, mentions it as a potential issue, but then goes into this diatribe about listing every other possible reason under the sun for the problems Australia is facing. Take a look.
To follow on Ruben's question, is radical Islam, in your view, the greatest domestic security threat Australia faces?
Well, the assessments are that that is one of the issues that we're dealing with. But I want to deal with all of the threats, whether it be extremist perversions of Islam leading to support for the ideology promoted by ISIS, whether it be also concerned about the issue of sovereign citizens killing police in Victoria and Queensland. I'm concerned about neo-Nazis thinking it's okay to march down our streets dressed in black, not worrying about their faces being covered, explicitly promoting that as well. Some of these things are not new. James Salim, National Action person, tried to kill Eddie Fundi from the African National Congress when I was a student. I was a candidate against that reprehensible fascist at Sydney University in 1983. This has been around a long period of time. There are issues have escalated, and we need to take action against all of them.
So once again, we're told the threat is everything other than what the real problem is. Everything other than what reality would have us believe. The very reality that you can see with your own two eyes. It's every other group other than what's real. But when you actually look at global data on political violence over the last 2 decades in the West, a very different story becomes quite self-evident. And that's a story that politicians do not want to address. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want us talking about it. They don't want anyone noticing it. It has to be buried. Anyways, here's this clip of Ashton Cohen discussing what the real threat is and the stats to back it up. Let's take a look.
So I actually couldn't believe this stat was real until I looked it up myself. But there's been over 65,000 Islamist terror attacks since 9/11. 65,000 spread over 70 countries. And we're not supposed to draw any conclusions from this, right? They're just coincidences. 65,000 coincidences. And just in case you think I'm cherry-picking data, which would be a natural conclusion, you might ask, what about the other religions? So let's look at them. If you take the world's other 4 major religions, Christianity, Hinduism, Judaism, and Buddhism, those 4 religions combined account for roughly 2% of all religiously motivated terror attacks. Islam is responsible for the other 98%. And by the way, no one is more knowledgeable about this fact than the Muslim leaders themselves, who have been very successful imprisoning, eliminating, and sending away all of their true believers into the arms of white liberals in the West who are just so eager to bring them in.
So there it is. That's the reality that Western politicians don't want you to hear. And I mean, go anywhere. Go to England. You know, what's happening in England right now is absolutely horrific. It's like every day there are a dozen, attacks on the train or in the street. Someone grabbed a knife and started stabbing people. It's anarchy. It's legitimate, violent actions. But that reality is ignored and we're not allowed to talk about it. A disproportionate share of global terror attacks since 9/11 have been driven by a specific extremist ideology. That is self-evident. It just is. It's one that openly justifies violence, rejects pluralism and attacks civilians at random. That's not the far right. Yeah, and acknowledging that it's not bigotry. It's not bigoted to say the truth. That's just simple analysis. You don't make societies safer by pretending all threats are identical or by deflecting blame toward politically convenient enemies like Western leaders are trying to do. You make them safer by confronting facts honestly about who is actually committing the crime, who's actually a violent offender. And addressing the ideology behind that, enforcing it, enforcing the punishment for the crime, and creating policies that prevent it from happening. But that is the antithesis of what is happening in the West right now. That's the exact opposite. And if governments can't do that, they're not protecting their citizens, they're protecting narratives.